Hi everyone, so this video is going to be about algebraic fractions. So just like we can simplify algebraic expressions or equations by multiplying them or by collecting like terms, we can also simplify them when they are dividing. So sometimes you'll hear this referred to as algebraic quotients, but just the same way as sometimes you can divide fractions and sometimes you can't, the same is going to be true about algebraic fractions. So we're going to look at how can we make it simpler. And not unlike the algebraic product section, we look at the numbers separately from the letters. So we're going to look at two examples here. So the first one, we have 6x to the power of 3 over 3x. And again, I'm going to show you a middle step that might be helpful for some of you in these initial stages of just learning about them. Hopefully over time you won't require that middle step, but again, until you don't need it anymore, use it. So sometimes writing them out in expanded form can kind of help. So I'm going to write out that this is 6 times x 3 times, and that the bottom is 3 times x. Then we're going to look at both parts of these independently. We're going to look at 6 divided by 3. Can we do that? Or is there a common factor? Is there a factor common to both of them that we can divide them by, similar to how we would reduce a fraction to lowest terms? And the answer is, of course, yes. We can divide both of these numbers by 3. So if I divide 6 by 3, that leaves me with 2. If I divide 3 by 3, that leaves me with 1. Then we look at the letters. So what you need to understand is that anything divided by itself is equal to 1. So for example, 5 divided by 5 equals 1. 100 divided by 100 equals 1. X divided by x is equal to 1. So anytime we see an x on the top and an x on the bottom, those can cancel out because they amount to 1. Which again, whether the 1 is on the top or on the bottom, it's not really going to change anything there because we're just multiplying it all together. So essentially, in effect, we cancel those out, and by doing so, we're dividing 1 by itself and then ending up with a resulting 1. So x divided by x, 1, or they cancel one another out. So then you kind of look at what's left on the top. So I've got this 2 multiplying by this 1, and then multiplying by those two x's. So on the top, what I have left is 2x to the power of 2. And then on the bottom, all I have is this 1. So remember, a fraction over 1, you don't need the over 1 if that's the only thing left on the bottom, because it's the exact same as the whole number or the algebraic term that would be on the top. So my final answer on this one is 2x squared after you divide the numbers and then simplify out the letters. Okay, let's look at the second example. So again, sometimes I find in the initial stages it can be helpful for students to write out exactly what is going on in the algebraic fraction. So I'm going to write out 4, and then I have a single x, and then I have 2 y's all multiplying together. And on the bottom I have a 12, I have 2 x's, and I have 1 y. Then I look to simplify. So I'm going to start by simplifying my numbers. I cannot do 4 divided by 12, but I can reduce that fraction because I know that both 4 and 12 have a common factor of 4. So if I divide 4 by 4, that leaves me with 1. If I divide 12 by 4, that leaves me with 3. And then I start to look at my letters. So I see 1x here, top and bottom, that will cancel, and 1y here that will cancel, or in effect reduce themselves down to 1's. That's as much simplifying as I can do with the letters. So then I start to look at what's left over. So on the top I have 1 times 1 times 1 times y. So on the top, the only thing I have is 1y, remembering I don't need to write the coefficient of 1, it's not necessary. So the only thing that's left over on the top is y. On the bottom, I have 3 times x is the only thing that's left, so the bottom of my fraction is 3x, and that's as simple as I can make that algebraic fraction. So there's two things going on here. There's the idea of simplifying fractions, reducing them to lowest terms, which we learned about all the way back in Unit 1 and probably you learned about prior to Unit 1. The new thing is simplifying the algebraic terms, the algebra letters that are involved here. And essentially it amounts to dividing them by themselves and canceling things out and then just figuring out what's left over on the top and what's left over on the bottom. So that is algebraic fractions.